Welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about Welcome to Derry episode 2, That Thing in the Dark. And there are a lot of things in the dark in this episode. But before we get into it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate all of you coming to the channel and keep coming back for more. But like I said, we're going to discuss episode 2, The Thing in the Dark, in this episode. This episode leaves us with a lot to unpack, quite honestly. That's why we're just basically going to jump right into it. Episode 2 is gloom and doom, just like episode 1. I think this whole season is going to be like this. Derry isn't just about Pennywise, it's about the people in Derry. I think the people in Derry are going to play a bigger role in this show than Pennywise himself, because while he is present on the surface and under the surface, he does not have to be a physical presence on this show for this show to be scary, for it to be good. He is going to have to make an appearance at some point for us all to be satisfied, of course, but he is not needed in every episode to drive the story forward, is what I'm saying. It has great balance, as the first episode did. This is more of a slow burn, if you want to call it that, because we got some pretty gruesome moments in this episode. But like I said, the episode basically opens where episode 1 ends, just from a different vantage point in the theater, watching the kids get thrown around and killed again. And then we'll see the cops sitting outside Ronnie's house, and they make an interesting statement when they're sitting in the car. You know, they're smoking their cigarettes and they're just like, maybe it was it, referring to the kids that got killed because their bodies are missing, whatever. And maybe it's not Ronnie's dad that killed the kids, even though we all know he was at home or whatever the case may be. And that foreshadowing right there just tells me that the cops, the people of Derry, clearly this has been going on longer than 1962, so this is not going to be an origin story, and I'll tell you why later. But everybody seems to know that there is something there in Derry. Why Derry, Maine? Couldn't tell you, but there's something in Derry that has been there, and even the cops and people of Derry in 1962 are scared of it and don't know what the fuck it is, and they just kind of want to just stay out of its way. And that honestly kind of takes us further into the story as the girls go back to school, bullying, a lot of racial tension in this episode. This is the 1960s in America, so that's pretty prevalent. The Cold War, which for you historians, you can correct me, I believe it ended in 1960 in October. I can't remember, but correct me if I'm wrong. But racial tension, a potential Cold War, all that's in here. So I do like how they have used real world events to kind of give the characters in the story something else to worry about on top of worrying about what the hell is in our town. So as we get further into the episode, then we start exploring Ronnie and the guilt that she has about her dad and thinking he's going to go to jail. So she's in her room, getting ready to go to bed. And there's this scene where she's lying in bed looking at her mother's picture that she's never met because her mother died at childbirth. And, she's lying in bed, and then all of a sudden, the bed starts beating like a heart. So, she's trying to pull the covers from over her face or whatnot. And if you didn't pick up on it, I picked up on that we were basically inside of a womb. It fills up with water, and then she eventually gets shots out. And she's on the floor with all the goo and sticky stuff all over her. And then Pennywise starts manifesting himself through this hallucination, because this is a hallucination or a nightmare, however you want to look at it, but this isn't Freddy Krueger. But he starts toying with her. Your dad's going to get caught. It's your fault. You killed the kids. And then, for whatever reason, she's still attached to the umbilical cord. And this TV show, for whatever reason, has this theme of like birth or rebirth. I'm not sure which one they're going towards, but it seems like maybe rebirth, since she's a full-grown teen and she just got spit out of her belly. But we saw it in episode 1. Pregnant woman spits out demon baby. Episode 2, Ronnie gets spits out by demon mom, who Pennywise is manifesting himself through. She's attached to the umbilical cord. Graphic scene. But nonetheless, Pennywise is toying with Ronnie at this point, driving the trauma in. And like I said last episode, clearly he feeds off more than fear. He feeds off hate, trauma. This is the 1960s in America, so there's racial divide, there's tension and angst over the Cold War. So there's a lot going on, and they've already set the stage for us that Derry is the place to be. This is the northernmost military base and all that good stuff. If the nukes fly, this is the place to be and all that good stuff like that. So Derry obviously has some type of military importance. And before I get furthermore into this episode, the military base, I forgot to mention in the last episode that it referenced, notice the secret projects area that we'll obviously see in this episode. This to me will come back later and be a reference to the movie and the book, obviously, The Mist. And when it happens, we'll get back into it. But I just wanted to state that these two episodes are filled with Easter eggs about different Stephen King stories. But let's talk about Lily's vision and in the grocery store and the pickle jars. So we all know that they revealed that her dad died in an accident in a pickle factory and he was chopped up in a machine or got crushed in a machine, basically. So she's in the grocery store just running some errands after she left the police station, basically getting Ronnie's dad in trouble. And that we'll talk about very shortly. She's in the store and, Pennywise said, hey, why should Ronnie be the only person that's getting fucked with? Let me get you too in broad daylight. So, she's walking through the grocery store, and did you guys pick up in the grocery store that basically Pennywise is manipulating everybody in the store, just leaning over, the creepy smiles, and the one guy that just keeps peeping from behind the aisle. Like, it was a creepy ass scene. But it finishes up with, Lily stuck between 4 walls in a grocery store with pickle jars on them. And she sees one that has her dad's face in it, and she starts talking to him. He sticks his tongue out and starts doing the tongue thing and licking the side of the glass from inside the jar. She picks it up and crushes it, obviously. Then they have this beautiful moment where she is on the floor getting wrapped up by pickled intestines of her father with the thing in her mouth, screaming for help. And then obviously she wakes up from her hallucination, but obviously traumatized even more than she already has been after watching her friends die. Oh, and by the way, the reference in the show that this has been a couple of weeks. So the kids are back in school. It's been a couple of weeks since the movie theater murder, and this is kind of where this episode picked up a couple of weeks later. And furthermore, in this episode, we get into the relationship between Dick Halloran and The Shining. They have this scene where the commander of the base is basically like, maybe your powers aren't real, maybe you're full of shit, or whatever the case may be. Maybe they're trying to extend your time here. I'm not sure which one it is, but we'll find out at the end of the episode that they do eventually find something in the dark, and they're going to find something that's very, very nasty. But in this moment, Dick Halloran comes back up and he's with one of the generals or whatnot, and they think they found something. So the other commander of the base, or head in command, I think the second command is who came with Halloran, but that's not important. So we have this scene with the two generals, or whatever they are, Dick Halloran and Halen, in basically the same room. And Dick winks at him or whatever. And to me, that wink signifies either Halen has some ability of the shine. Halen has something. I'm not sure if it's the shine or some of these other powers that we've seen in some other Stephen King stories, but we talked about how he flew through some war area and basically the only person that survived and came out unscathed. He doesn't have fear, which is why he was brought there in the first place. And, there's something with Halen that is not necessarily connecting him and Halloran, but Halloran is definitely picking up on it. And before we get further into the story, I forgot to mention that, laying more groundwork for the weirdness in the show, the Halen's wife, while she's out in town, seems like a decent town, decent people. Nobody's really doing much. They're just kind of going about their way. And they're clearly not doing much, because there's a scene inside the butcher shop where these kids start beating up this other kid. And she's just like, why is nobody doing anything? They're just going to let those kids do that? And then the butcher's like, well, boys will be boys. So that just goes to show more of how these people in Derry are just kind of comfortable and okay with chaos. And, boys will be boys. Things just kind of happen here. People die, people going missing, but everybody in this town is probably traumatized by something, because this has clearly been going on longer than 1962. This did not just start in Derry. But no. But to get to the end of the episode, and I'm only touching on some of the major parts because I want you guys to go check this episode out if you already haven't. And if you have, obviously you know what I'm talking about. But to end this episode, and this is like the craziest thing. Whose car was that? I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to leave it at that, but whose car was that they pulled out of the ground? Because Dick is just, see, I told you there was something there, kind of cocky with his shine ability. But my initial thought when I saw the car was like, oh shit, this Pennywise's car. Then you see all the bodies in it and whatnot, skeletons and whatnot. There were at least 5 or 6 in there. Then I was like, oh, maybe this is the car from episode 1 with the creepy family, because they did have on a period of clothes that didn't match the 60s, probably more like the 30s. So I'm just like, and this car design kind of matches a car from that age as well. So I'm like, well, maybe this is that family, but there's probably too many people in the car. But whose car is that? What's the significance of this car and them pulling out of the ground? You know, the general guy said that whatever they're looking for are surrounded by these beacons. And what's so important about this car that we're obviously going to dive into in further episodes and future seasons. But what's so important about this car that they want to go excavate basically this entire area looking for that? And that's my main question about that. Whose car was it? Do you guys know who car it was? Because it's clearly been there for a while. And if this car is tied to Pennywise, then, you know, it's underground. Maybe this would explain the rot that Derry goes through as things just become darker and darker over the decades. But what did you guys think about the episode? Tell me what you guys think down in the comments. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Were you sucked in like I was for me, 2:00 in the morning? I've actually watched the episode twice by now. And just because I just kind of wanted to give you guys a really deep dive. Well, not a deep dive, because this isn't really a deep dive, but I just wanted to give you guys as much information as I could, because when I first watched it, I picked up on like certain things. Then when I watched it the second time, it's just like, damn, I missed that. Damn, I missed that too. Shit, why did Holland wink at Halen and stuff like that? And there are lots of Easter eggs and clues in the first two episodes that tie into the larger King universe. Matter and the turtle. There are turtles everywhere. You know, Pennywise is everywhere. And they're on opposite sides of the coin or the universe, or however you want to look at it. How did Pennywise get to Derry? I doubt we're going to find out in this season, but we're definitely going to explore it. How does the presence of Halloran, who is a character of The Shining and other stories, but how is his presence, how do you think it will influence the universe? Because they're going to explore the black spot fire in this season, like I said in another video. They're going to explore the black spot fire, which he survives, obviously, because he's in The Shining. But what other horrors have taken place prior to this? So one of the reasons I say this refers to the books, because if you've read the book, you've heard of the Bradley gang. And they're the ones who are, along with Pennywise, ultimately responsible for the fire that starts at the black spot. So, like I said, if you've read the book, then you know. But the Bradley gang was referenced, and that was also one of my guesses for who car this could be. Was this the Bradley gang's car? But that really wouldn't fit the timeline, because the black spot hasn't burned down yet, but maybe it's a different part of their group or whatever the case may be, but we'll see. But a quick side note, and I wanted to basically end with this on future seasons of this show. So what I've been able to kind of dig up and figure out is that there will be at least 3 seasons of this show. Season 1 that we're in right now is covering 1962 and all the things that are revolving around that. And we're going to go backwards 27 years in season 2 to 1935. Then we're going to go in season 3, 27 years before that, which is 1908. So I'm not sure when we're going to find out where Pennywise came from, but he's going to remain a force in this series as it goes on. Him, clearly Matter and the Turtle, is going to have some impact on the overall of this story, because, you know, he's the thing that the universe rides on his back. And this is just episode 2, but the context and the details of episode 2 are going to push us in the direction to future seasons. Because at some point, just like in the movies, to understand what's going on in the present, we kind of have to go in the past. And there are always flashbacks or hints at the past or what happened in the past. And I'm not sure if we're going to see, I don't know if we're going to see any references to 1908 in this show, but I do believe we'll see references to 1935 if we already haven't in the first episode with that original creepy family. But I'm really enjoying this. This is a great watch. If it ends how it has started, Welcome to Derry will probably be the best show on TV, scripted show on TV this year, easily. There are a few other, I can't even think off the top of my head of anything first 2 episodes that's better than this that came out this year right now. And maybe we have to switch genres to maybe find something that competes with this show. But as of right now, this is the best show of the year for me. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think this is the best show of the year so far, or do you have something better? But episode 2 continues to blend the personal horror, the cosmic horror, and everything else expanding the Kingverse. I'm calling it the Kingverse. That's what I'm calling it. If you guys have something else you want to call it, but this is basically Stephen King's universe or Stephen King's multiverse or whatever you want to call it. Pennywise is, in my opinion, is being used as a connective tissue to piece different characters together. And the city of Derry is being used to piece different parts of the story together because a lot of Stephen King stories take place in Maine. So it's not bad to have a central location to where all the shit kind of starts and fans from. You know, Shawshank is in Maine. This is in Maine. Juniper Hills is in Maine. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure Firestarter, which ties into Juniper Hill. So there's a lot of Stephen King, because he's born there, from Bangor, Maine. I apologize if I said it wrong, but he's from there. And did you guys see the Paul Bunyan thing again? Paul Bunyan is obviously going to play a role in this because he played a role in It Chapter 2. I'm sorry, It Chapter 1 with the when the kids they were young. You know, he scared can't remember which one, but he scared one of the kids in the park. But this is showing the Paul Bunyan statue getting built and how the townspeople even feel about that, because they don't seem very happy about having it. And that's why I say this town is weird. They're very, very passive. They don't like things, but they also allow things to just happen and manifest. And, you know, it just seems to be a Derry thing. And with that being said, thank you for coming by. I appreciate you guys for watching. Keep coming by for more. Let me know what you think of Welcome to Derry as a whole episode 1 and 2. What do you guys think is going on in this story? And do you think there will be any more surprises coming down the pipeline? If you saw the trailer for the next episode, you saw Halen and Dick on the airplane, and Dick is using his shine to find something. We're obviously getting closer and closer to that Pennywise reveal. He's going to get revealed probably by mid-season, I would say. If this is 10 episodes, I would expect to see Pennywise probably by episode 5, since that would technically be our mid-season. But maybe not in full form, but maybe a grin. But we are getting the eyes, we're getting the laugh, we're getting the voice. So Pennywise is very, very much present. But with that being said, thank you guys for coming by. I appreciate you all. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and keep coming back for more. Let me know what you think of the review. Let me know what you think of the channel. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.